Right, but you know, I think it's important when you think through the gravitas that you move throughout this world. I mean, women are so enormously powerful, and I think when you stand in that grace, people can sense that. For me, though, I was very intentional in the beginning, and I'll give you one example. Going back to promoting parties, right? Again, very different time 20 years ago. So when we were promoting parties, I would give the women I work with clipboards, because if not, somebody's gonna try and smack you on the butt or this and that. But once you put a clipboard in your hand, all of a sudden it was like, oh, excuse me, miss, which way, da, da, da. So I literally called like the clipboard effect, that everywhere I went after that, I tried to mentally think through, what is that essence in the way that I'm gonna move in a room that says I'm here for business. Like, I'm strictly here for business. And I'm happy, I'm gonna be cool, I'm pleasant, I love life, but it's not about anything. I'm here at work to work. You know, so in the beginning, I would have no, and I actually don't suggest this, right? Because I think I respect so much how women now are like, nah, I don't have to have props. I don't need a clipboard taken seriously. Like, it's a different time. But when I started, I had no personal pictures. All the party, I grew up in this whole era. For the first probably 7 years, nobody saw me do a two-step at a party. Like, I mean, I was very intentional about, like, I'm pleasant, but I'm not here for a good time. I'm here. If I'm gonna spend all this time here, I have an objective to move forward, and it's for the financial enrichment for me and my family.
Okay, and it's obvious that you were very intentional, but so many women, and I want you to speak to the women in particular in business, so many women find such a hard time walking the line of being, am I too friendly? Am I overly friendly?
Right, not friendly enough.
And not friendly enough, and if so, am I perceived as the B word? I never got that from you. Like, you always had this smile. You always were very inviting. Obviously, you were intentional about not being too, friendly with everybody, but you walk a line in a way that I haven't seen many women in corporate environments be able to walk. What is the secret there?
I mean, I think I'm also very, I don't know if this is just for women, but I think, what is the foundation of what you're going into work, right? I am a very happy person in general, like, because I wake up very grateful, like, just for waking up. Like, my mother has like advanced multiple sclerosis, so all my life, like, I've seen her grow from waking up at 5 a.m., running miles, packing our lunch. She was like very, as you can imagine, like very energetic, to like not physically being able to walk. But it didn't matter. Like, I would come home when I come home from school, she's still like, if she couldn't walk, she would have figured out how to put 2 boxes in this thing and a banana peel and put up a curtain and still make us. So she's always been like grateful, great sense of humor, and figures out how to get things done. So for me, I'm like, if I wake up and both my feet hit the ground, everything after that is added value. And no matter what your gender is or whatever gender you identify with, I think I really, really believe from my heart that, like, everyone has something to learn, everyone has something to teach. So I think I try to approach every relationship like that, because I really respect every human being. I think there's an opportunity for us to be the worst and the best. And if I at all can send out any light that will reflect the best in you, I try to do it. And it works. Like, for me, like, my husband even jokes, he was like, you live in like a charmed world. And I was like, maybe, but I think people tend to reflect what you give off. So if I have a lot of wonderful experiences and people treat me well, I think it's because I treat people well. And that is gender agnostic.
That's a great point. That's a great point that anybody can take, one male or female. It's a great point. I want to bring it back to your time working with Diddy and the Sean Combs Enterprises. I don't want to speak for you, but I have to believe one of your biggest achievements working within the organization would be Ciroc Vodka, no?
Yeah, no question. No question.
I guess I'll let you put it in your own words, but can you explain to everybody what your role was in the inception of bringing that deal on board and growing that brand from being a failed brand into what it has become today?
Yeah, so I was Puff's chief of staff at the time when we started having conversations about potentially getting into spirits. And when we looked at a partnership with Diageo was #1 in wine and spirits in the world. They'd had Ciroc Vodka for 5 years and had been doing terrible. And when Puff was like, oh, I'm interested in doing this, I went to him and said, I'm trained in contract negotiations. I'd like to be a part of the negotiation team on this deal. He's like, all right, you can join it. So me and the CFO at the time, small group of us, were instrumental in 9.5 months of negotiating. We led the deal to get done. Once the deal was closed with Diageo, I went back to him and said, marketing is the lifeblood of everything you're famous for. Everything you ever built has been built on like your innovation in marketing. But at that particular time at Combs Enterprises, there was like no marketing team left. So I was like, how are we going to launch this? I was like, it's October, November, December. 70% of liquor sales, math again, right? Liquor sales happen during this time period. We should launch now. Like, let's not wait. Let's go out. I was like, but I want to relaunch the agency you used to have called Blue Flame. I said, I will get it funded and I'll build out the plan. I was like, but I want to be I want to lead the activities for this. I also used to run a small marketing company in Maryland. So he said, you can do that if you replace yourself in my current role as chief of staff. So I went to Diageo. I negotiated to get them to fund. I got the first $800,000 to start to build a team and to oversee the marketing budget. I put together an org chart. Pub actually was helpful. He was like, you should hire this person. He was helping me think about people we could bring on. And that first 9 months, we did incredible numbers. We were literally up 1,000% in sales in over 100 zip codes in the United States.
Can we stop there for 1 second? Because I just want to bring, there's so many jewels and so many gems that you're dropping. I love the fact that you said, going into this, I am trained in contract negotiation. Spots opportunity, a skill set that you had going back, 15 years, now applies. And you see an opportunity that you can advance your own career.
Yes.
And help the company, help close this deal.
And I had been with him for 2 years. Like, he didn't know that either.
Oh,
right?
You're
So
only with him for 2 years at that time?
This was only this is
Wow.
2000, like actually a year and a half. 'Cause I started 2005, so it was like 2006 and a half. We started negotiations and then we launched in 2007 in the winter.
Wow, but I love even one better. You're chief of staff, that's a big deal. Chief of staff for Sean Combs. So you're like, you know what? Everything that you've done has centered around marketing. Let me go and bring back Blue Flame marketing. And not only that, I'll fund it. I'll get it funded. Nobody is going to say no to that. And all you have to do is replace yourself. The opportunities are always there.
Right.
But number one, you have to believe in yourself. And you have to be able to see the opportunities and how you can bring value. So I'm sorry for cutting you off. We'll go back into.
No, that's the point.
But I think that it's just incredible gems that people really need to understand, because so many people sit and they wait for for an opportunity to come to them. This is 2 instances back to back where you're saying, hey, I see opportunity. I see where I can bring value to what you're doing, and it helped you to move up.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing too, is like just always thinking about what's next. Like, it's be impatient, be restless, right? Because you're right. Like, it's one of those situations where being chief of staff was terrific because I was able to learn about all the different businesses, and it would have been very easy to do that job for 20 years. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm looking to, Puff is amazing, but he is not a joke. It is a real 24-hour, can't stop, won't stop, make it have my enemies necessary all day long on the most boring Tuesday. So I was like, if I'm going to be working this level of intensity, I need a commensurate ROI. I'm not going to get that being chief of staff. So here was a real opportunity to participate in a business that hits the bottom line to drive actual revenue for him, for me, and for the entire company. So the trick was, though, the replacing yourself wasn't so easy. So 12 months later, after we were going through 2 replacements that were unsuccessful, the business was taking off, and it was obvious that it was going to be at a minimum. And at that time, we didn't even know. But I looked to him, I said, look, I'm doing the math. We're going to be able to, this is at least a $100 million opportunity, which ended up being more than that, right? I said, but I am 12 months later, this business is doing crazy. Our partner's thrilled. I'm running the agency, but I'm also I'm also booking your jets. I'm managing the chefs. I'm managing the rest of the team, planning your kids' birthday parties. Like, it was literally, like, at that time, I used to have 3 phones, and it was ridiculously like, yeah, I need to hire 12 ambassadors in the city. We need to be in these 45 clubs. I want to push the Ciroc and lemonade drink, hang up and be like, yeah, he's turning 7 years old. Like, it was ridiculous. And I went and I was like, Pop, I can't. We've gone through 2 chief of staffs. I was like, you got to either let me run this agency, because I can't even look at an opportunity like this and not be all the way in. Because what I won't do again, just because I'm protective of my own brand and I bring to the table, is like, I'm not doing things half-assed. I won't do it. And he was like, no, it seems fine. Things going great. Just keep doing both, basically. I resigned. I don't even know if you know this, I resigned.
Really?
Like, I'm not anymore. I just sent a beautiful, like, I'm gonna close out in 45 days. Here's my plan. I'm gonna help you find somebody, but I'm not going to do this. Like, I'm not gonna drive myself crazy like this, and something's going to slip. And he was like, okay, for 43 days. And then the CFO walked in. On my last couple of days, I was like putting the file in, the CFO walked in and was like, Puff said, give me what you want. I was like, he's a smart man. And then from there, we built Ciroc to being a $2 billion retail value brand to this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Dee, I should have asked you this earlier. You come in Puff's executive assistant. Mm-hmm. 2 years later, you're president of Blue Flame?
2 years later, I was, what do they call it? I was EVP, I think, of Blue Flame originally.
Long story short, you're a rocket ship. You're gone. Was there a lot of hate? And I asked you this, and not trying to put you on the spot, but it's human nature. There were people who were with Puff before you got there, and more important, it's all men. In the way Puff works, he has a lot of people around him who are, they're close friends. They yes. They might not necessarily have the skill set for what they're doing, but he trusts them. They're very close to him.
Yes.
First and foremost, was there a lot of pushback from, people who were close to him? And secondly, how did you navigate it, if so?
Yeah, so I think initially there was just a lot of curiosity of, like, to your point, people were like, I've been working with him for 20 years. Like, how are you, what's happening? Like, what are you doing? Like, da-da-da-da. And I think the thing that was a little different actually was a blessing for me in growing up in the company. Even when I was promoted to president in 2017, like, the most beautiful thing was assistants coming in, like other assistants coming in, like, yo, like, I could, you know what I mean? It's so encouraging. Like, we're not faking when we say we promote from within. You know what I mean? Like, so I think people saw my work ethic. So anybody from that era will know, like, nah, she would be in the office till 3 a.m., then be back with a fresh bun, like, ready at 8 a.m. for the radio calls. You know what I mean? Like, so you could never deny that this was not some coincidence or some trauma. I was busting my butt, and it was very obvious. There was probably, I will tell you, there was in my experience, probably only one person who I literally would say, she has real issues. Like, it wasn't just me. Like, she's really, like, needed. I had actually went to Puff. I was like, if you care about this person, you should invest in sending her. She needs deep, inpatient, 36-month treatment. Like, I can't heal her in this 5 minutes in the hallway. You know what I mean? Type of thing. But I mean, and for her, I had to, sometimes people can confuse kindness, right? So I definitely had to pull her aside because I don't want to ever embarrass anybody. And it was the same situation. It was a classic situation where she was out of pocket. And I was like, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Pull in the conference room. It was a real, like, you heard the staff like it was a Western, like, moment. We were like, but as soon as I closed the door, and I really started with it because it was a woman, and I was like, why are you embarrassing us like this? Like, if you have a problem, first of all, it's all men, right? So, like, you gonna have a problem with me, honey? I was like, look, if you really have a problem, pull me aside at any time. I was like, but I'm hearing you talking to outside vendors and you making up things. Like, I'm such the most transparent, like, genuinely wants the best for people kind of person. I was like, this is just corny. I was like, if you have a real problem, I'm here right now. And she just burst into tears. I was like, I was like almost wanted. I was hoping to kind of go over her jaw, but she was so, like, started crying. I was like, oh. And I mean, that was honestly the end of it. I mean, I'm not, like, everybody has their own faith, but, like, as a Christian woman, for me, I really do try to think through, like,